Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I've got this nice piece of land, 3 acres behind my house where I run my lumber and firewood business. It's honest work, you know? I've been doing it for years, minding my own business until these folks from the local homeowners association decided they didn't like what I was doing. Now get this, my property isn't even part of their association. But did that stop them? Nope. They started causing troubles about 4 months ago. I remember the day I walked out to my work area and found my equipment vandalized. The lines on my machines were cut, and some jerk had poured salt into my log splitter and band saws. Who does that? I was fuming, but it got worse. Over the next few weeks, I noticed my chainsaws were going missing. At first, I thought maybe I'd misplaced them or something, but then I found this note. It said the Homeowners Association banned the use of forestry equipment. Can you believe that? They were stealing my stuff and acting like they had the right to do it. I tried talking to them, reasoning with them, but they wouldn't listen. They kept coming back, damaging more of my equipment, messing with my vehicles, even damaging my house and fence. It was getting out of hand. And that's when I decided enough was enough. I called up my sister-in-law, who happens to be a lawyer. She was outraged when I told her what was going on. I say, they've caused over $120,000 in damages to my equipment, and another $50,000 in damage to my vehicles and property. I can't just sit back and let this happen. She says, don't worry, we're going to take them to court. This is clear vandalism and theft. They have no right to do this, especially since your property isn't even part of their association. So we gathered evidence, we had security cameras installed after the first few incidents, and boy did they come in handy. We caught the Homeowners Association president and one of his board members on video multiple times destroying my equipment and property. When we finally got to court, it was almost anticlimactic. The whole thing took about 15 minutes. My sister-in-law presented the evidence, the city map, the Homeowners Association layout, and explained how my property wasn't part of their jurisdiction. Then she showed the video evidence of their vandalism and theft. The judge looked at all this and basically said, case closed. We won, just like that. But it wasn't over yet. As we were leaving the courtroom, my sister-in-law turned to me with this glint in her eye. Now, about those criminal charges, see you next week. I couldn't help but grin. These folks were going to learn that you can't just go around destroying other people's property and stealing their stuff. After the court case, I thought things would calm down, but nope. My neighbors got this bright idea to form a new homeowners association. They've been going around trying to get everyone to sign up. When they came to my door, I just laughed. One neighbor says, hey, we're starting a new homeowners association for the area. We think it'll really improve property values and community spirit. Would you like to join? Nope, I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks. But don't you want to be part of the community? We could all work together to make the neighborhood better. Look, I've had enough trouble with the homeowners associations. I work hard for what I have, and I don't need anyone telling me what I can and cannot do on my own property. But, no buts. I am not interested. Have a good day. I shut the door, shaking my head. I just don't get it. Why would anyone willingly sign up for that kind of control over their property? And how is the city even allowing this after what happened with the last homeowners association? It's been a few weeks since the court case and things have mostly settled down. My business is back up and running, and I've replaced most of the damaged equipment. The homeowners association that caused all the trouble has been pretty quiet. I guess getting slapped with a lawsuit and criminal charges will do that. But I cannot help thinking about how close I came to losing everything I've worked for. All because some people thought they had the right to dictate what I could do on my own property. It's not right, and I'm glad I fought back. I was talking to my sister-in-law the other day, going over some details for the upcoming criminal case against the Homeowners Association members who vandalized my property. I still can't believe they thought they could get away with this. Who do they think they are? She tells me some people just little bits of power go to their heads. They forget that rules and laws apply to them too. Yeah, well, they are learning that lesson now. I just hope this sends a message to other homeowners associations out there. It should. Cases like this set precedents. It reminds people that property rights matter and you can't just go around enforcing rules on people who aren't part of your organization. True. Have you heard about this new homeowners association my neighbors are trying to start? Yeah, I heard something about that. Are you thinking of joining? Are you kidding? After all this? No way. I value my freedom too much. Can't say I blame you, just keep an eye on them. Make sure they don't try to overstep their bounds like the last one did. Oh, believe me, I will. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, it's not gonna happen. So let them form their new homeowners association if they want. Let them have their rules and their meetings and their property value discussions. As for me, I'll be right here running my business, living my life, and enjoying my freedom. And if anyone tries to take that away from me again, well, they'll have another thing coming. I'm 13 years old and I live with my parents in a small town. We're pretty close to most of our extended family and we have these big get togethers a few times a year. My parents are really nice people. My dad works as a teacher and my mom's a nurse. They've always taught me to be kind to others and to stand up for what's right. Now, about my aunt, let's just call her Karen. She's my dad's sister. She's always been difficult. My parents try to be nice to her, but I can tell they don't really like her much. Karen's got a son about my age, and she's always going on about how great he is and how he deserves all the attention in the world. So, about my broken leg, it happened about 2 weeks before the family gathering. I was at a soccer practice and I went for a sliding tackle. My foot got stuck in the grass and my leg just twisted in the wrong way. I heard this awful crack and the pain was unbelievable. The next thing I knew, I was in the hospital getting a cast put on. The doctor said I'd need to use crutches for at least 6 weeks. It was a real pain, but I was starting to get used to it by the time the family gathering rolled around. The gathering was at my grandparents' house. It was supposed to be a fun day with food, games, and catching up with relatives we hadn't seen in a while. When we arrived, everyone was super nice. They all asked how I was doing and wished me a speedy recovery. Some of my aunts and uncles even brought me little get well gifts, which was really sweet of them. I noticed Karen glaring at me from across the room, but I tried to ignore it. I was just happy to be there and to see everyone. But then things started to get weird. Karen's son, my cousin, came up to me and started poking at my cast. Is that thing even real? I bet you're just faking it for attention. What? No, it's real. I broke my leg at soccer practice. Whatever. You're just trying to make everyone feel sorry for you. I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. So I just hobbled away on my crutches and I found my parents and told them what happened. Don't worry about it, son. Your cousin's just jealous. Try to enjoy the day, okay? I nodded and tried to put it out of my mind. For a while, things were okay. I played some board games with my other cousins and chatted with my grandparents. But I could feel Karen watching me the whole time. Finally, she came over to where I was sitting. You must be loving all this attention, aren't you? She says. What? No. I'm just trying to enjoy the party like everyone else. Don't lie to me. I see how you're milking this for all it's worth. It's disgusting. I am not milking anything. I really did break my leg. Oh, please. I bet you're not even using those crutches properly. Let me see them. Before I could stop her, she grabbed one of my crutches and started examining it. Hey, give that back. I needed to walk. You don't need anything. You're just a little liar trying to steal attention from my son. By this point, people were starting to notice what was happening. My mom came over looking worried. What's going on here? Your son is faking his injury for attention. I am just calling him out on it. That's ridiculous. Give him back his crutch right now. No, I am sick of everyone fawning over him when my son is the one who deserves the attention. He's got good grades at school lately, and you should all praise him and bring him gifts. Things escalated quickly from there. Karen started yelling about how unfair it was that I was getting all these gifts and well wishes when her son hadn't received anything. My dad tried to calm her down, but she was having none of it. Karen, you need to calm down. This isn't about your son or anyone else. Our boy is hurt, and people are just being kind. Kind? Where is the kindness for my son? He's twice the kid yours is. The whole room was silent now, everyone watching the scene unfold. I felt so embarrassed and scared. I just wanted to disappear. And that's when it happened. Karen suddenly turned to me. You want attention? I'll give you attention. And then she kicked the one crutch I had left out from under me. I lost my balance immediately with my broken leg. I couldn't catch myself, and I fell face first onto the hardwood floor. The pain was intense, and I could taste blood in my mouth where I bit my lip. There was a moment of stunned silence, and then everyone started shouting at once. My mom rushed to my side while my dad got between Karen and me. Are you okay, sweetie? Don't move, let me check you over. Mom said. What is wrong with you, Karen? He's just a kid. Dad yelled. He deserved it. He's been manipulating all of you. My uncle, who is a police officer, stepped in at this point. Karen, I think you need to leave now. Fine. This party is stupid anyway. She stormed out, dragging her confused looking son behind her. My parents helped me up and got me settled on a couch while my uncle called the police to file a report. The rest of the day was a blur. I had to go to the hospital to make sure I hadn't re-injured my leg or gotten a concussion from the fall. Luckily, I was mostly okay, just some bruises and a split lip. In the days that followed, I learned that this wasn't the first time Karen had hurt someone in our family. Apparently, she'd pushed my cousin down the stairs a few years ago when my cousin won a spelling bee that Karen's son had lost. No one had pressed charges then, but this time was different. My parents decided to press charges against Karen. A lot of our relatives who were at the party gave statements to the police about what happened. A few days later, we heard that Karen had been arrested at her house. The whole thing has been really scary and confusing, and I never wanted to cause any trouble or be the center of attention. I just wanted to hang out with my family and have a good time. Now, there is all this legal stuff going on, and I have to talk to lawyers and maybe even go to court. I'm trying to focus on getting better and not let this whole thing get me down. My parents have been really supportive, and so has the rest of the family. They keep telling me that none of this is my fault and that Karen needs help. For now, I'm just looking forward to getting this cast off and being able to walk normally again. And maybe our next family gathering will be a lot less dramatic. A few years back, I moved into this cookie cutter neighborhood with its homeowners association. At first, everything seemed normal, but it didn't take long for things to get weird. The HOA had these monthly meetings that us regular folks weren't allowed to attend. They also had one annual meeting where we could show up, but it was just for voting on stuff. Most of us had no clue what they actually did during those secret meetings. Luckily, I had a neighbor who was a treasurer. She wasn't on a board, but she had the inside scoop and would let us know what was going on. One day she came over to my place looking worried. You're not gonna believe what they are planning now. What is it this time? They want to start inspecting everyone's backyards. What? Why? They say it's because of the rules about visible items in backyards that can be seen from the road. But get this, they think this gives them the right to go into everyone's backyard whenever they want. That can be illegal. It's trespassing. I brought that up in a meeting. You know what they said? They claimed they had the right to go on anyone's property at any time. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like these people thought they were above the law or something. Did anyone else object? I asked what would happen if someone's dog bit them or if a pet escaped when they opened the gate. And you won't believe the response. What did they say? For pets running away, they said it's not their problem because they should be secured onto the property. And if they get bitten, they said they'd sue the homeowner. That's insane. They can't just do whatever they want. I was furious. These people thought they could just waltz onto our properties whenever they felt like it. No way was I going to let that slide. The next day I started doing some research. I looked up our state laws on trespassing and property rights. Turns out the homeowners association didn't have nearly as much power as they thought they did. I decided to attend the next annual meeting. When I got there, the room was packed. Seems like word had gone around about their little inspection plan. Board President, welcome everyone. We'll start with our usual business. Actually, I'd like to address something important first. Sir, we have a set agenda. An agenda that doesn't include discussing your plans to trespass on our properties. The room went silent. I could see the board members shifting uncomfortably in their seats. I'm not sure what you're referring to. We haven't made any such plans public. Maybe not public, but we know about your backyard inspection scheme. Those inspections are necessary to enforce our rules about visible items. Rules that only apply to what's visible from the road. That doesn't give you the right to enter our properties without permission. Karen, the board member, we have the right to go on anyone's property at any time. It's in the covenant, conditions, and restrictions. Actually, it's not. I've read them thoroughly. Nowhere does it say you can trespass whenever you want. It's not trespassing if we're enforcing the rules. According to the state law, it absolutely is trespassing, and I'm not the only one who knows this. I looked around the room and several other neighbors nodded in agreement. Let me make this clear. If any of you set foot on my property without my express permission, I will file criminal trespassing charges. The board president says, now let's not be hasty. We're all neighbors here. Neighbors respect each other's property rights. You're acting more like dictators. One neighbor says, he's right, but what about our pets? You can't just waltz in and risk letting them escape. If your pets aren't secure, that's your problem, Karen tells him. Actually, it'll be your problem. If your actions caused the pet to escape, you'd be liable for any harm that came to it. This is ridiculous. We're just trying to maintain property values. By trampling on our rights? I don't think so. Here is what's going to happen. You're going to drop this inspection plan, and you're going to start being more transparent about what goes on in these meetings. Or what? Or we will vote you all out and elect a new board, one that respects the law and our rights. The president says, all right, let's all calm down. Perhaps we were overzealous in our approach. We will reconsider the inspection plan. And the secret meetings? We'll look into ways to be more transparent. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a start. Over the next few months, things started to change. The board began sending out detailed minutes of their meetings to all residents. They also set up a system where residents could submit concerns and suggestions that would be addressed at each meeting. As for Karen and a couple of the other more aggressive board members, they found themselves voted out at the next election. The new board members were much more respectful of everyone's rights and focused on actually improving the neighborhood instead of just enforcing petty rules. I even ended up joining one of the committees to help organize community events. Turns out, when everyone works together and respects each other, you can have a great neighborhood without all the drama. These days, our homeowners association is actually pretty decent. We still have rules, but they are reasonable and fairly enforced. And most importantly, nobody's trying to sneak into our backyards anymore. It just goes to show sometimes you have to fight a little to create the community you want to live in. When my uncle, who was 71 years old, needed help with his groceries during the lockdown, my sister, who's 36, offered to do his shopping for him. She got his bank card to make it easier. Now, my uncle wasn't close with most of the family, but he really cared about my mom. He told us he wanted to leave everything to her in his will because she was the only one who ever looked out for him. We'd moved away from our hometown, so we didn't see him much lately. I started noticing something weird about my sister. She always seemed to have a lot of cash on her, which was strange because she was usually broke. She'd often ask to borrow money and never pay back. My parents were always helping her out, even giving her partner their old car. When my uncle passed away, my mom went to check his bank statements. The cashier at the bank looked shocked when they saw them. My uncle had always been careful with his money, but from January to June, there were tons of crazy expenses and cash withdrawals. It added up to more than £7,000. There were even withdrawals when he was in the hospital dying. My sister had left him with almost no money each month. His funeral policy got cancelled and his council tax wasn't being paid. When my mom visited his flat, she couldn't find any letters or bills. This was odd because my uncle never threw anything away and had trouble walking. When we confronted my sister, she claimed my uncle wanted her to have his money and inherit everything. She said he wanted her to be his next of kin, but they couldn't change the will because he couldn't get into her Jeep. It sounded like a bunch of excuses to me. Mom says, did you really spend all of Uncle's money? He wanted me to have it. I was taking care of him. But what about his bills? His funeral policy? That's not my problem. He gave me permission to use the money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom was left with an £8,000 bill for the funeral and all his unpaid expenses. She was heartbroken that her own daughter would do this to her, especially since my parents weren't well off and had always helped my sister when they could. How could you do this to mom? To uncle? I asked her. Mind your own business. You don't know anything about it. I was worried about my sister's kids. Her partner had a serious drug problem and was abusive. They both smoked like chimneys, going through 40 cigarettes each every day. It was pretty clear where all that money had gone. I decided I couldn't let this slide. I talked to my mom about what we should do. Mom, I think we need to report this to the police. But she's my daughter. I know, but what she did was wrong. It's elder abuse and theft. After a lot of discussion, my mom agreed. We went to the police station together to file a report. The officer listened to our story carefully. This is a serious matter. We'll need to investigate and gather evidence. We have the bank statements and can get statements from the bank staff. That's a good start. We'll also need to interview your sister and check your uncle's property for any additional evidence. Over the next few weeks, the police investigated thoroughly. They found security camera footage of my sister making large withdrawals from my uncle's account. They also discovered she'd been hiding bills and letters at her own house. When they questioned her, she couldn't keep her story straight. Her partner, when interviewed separately, admitted they'd been using the money for drugs and gambling. The day finally came when my sister was arrested. It was hard to watch, but I knew it was the right thing to do. You can't do this to me. It's unfair. You are under arrest for theft and elder abuse. You have the right to remain silent. As they took her away, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. My mom was crying, but I could see she understood it was necessary. The court case that followed was tough on all of us. My sister was found guilty and sentenced to prison time. She was also ordered to pay back all the money she'd stolen, though we knew it would take years. Mom says, I never thought it would come to this. I know, Mom, but we had to do something. Uncle deserved better, and so do you. In the end, we made sure my uncle's final wishes were respected. My mom used what was left of his estate to pay for a proper funeral and settle his debts. It wasn't easy, but we got through it as a family. As for my sister's kids, we worked with social services to make sure they were taken care of. It wasn't a happy ending we'd hoped for, but at least justice was served and we could start to heal.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.